coming in, they just decided to stay outside.
No,
Oh,
you can't
good.
leave it if they're waiting for one person or something.
Oh.
Was where it
Oh my goodness.
Obviously. Did I tell you this time?
The recorder's on.
Okay.
You know, that
Oh
was
my
always
God,
an
yeah.
extra, yeah, last November.
Oh my God.
Jill must be playing Minuteman today.
Oh my goodness.
What kind are they? What is it?
Somebody shows up.
What are they,
Oh,
those are Australian.
Oh,
he's always
Everything.
I bet they are.
25 feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I was on the
there's
phone with the
25
phone
feet
company
of property.
doing the
How would you do
engineering.
it?
But I'm seeing that there's a relief in here because it's an occupied structure.
Yeah, well, I sent the data.
So Carol, who.
I
There's
haven't really-
I don't know,
What
it's
they
still a question.
done is coming Tuesday.
Not surprising too.
And I said, you know what, a Thursday is better because the weather's very.
I'm waiting until I can find an answer from.
So-
And
He-
like,
he-
all
one of
this
them-
is not
Anything, I forget what they are, but 25 to 25. I think it's anything from 1,000 gallons. He wants to put two big buggy rounds back down.
This big green was the 2000, but he didn't get it. 14 is a lot bigger.
I don't know,
Bring in the danger and. But
It's
it
about
takes
20.
Can't get in there.
Only bring two.
There he is, not that side.
So we take the voicemail.
And then obviously,
Yeah.
first November,
That's not-
so.
Hey, Jim. Anyway, I'm seeing if I can find alternatives.
Here that we have the director.
Good to see you.
Well, but also, no, let me say, if you'd like.
You spell it?
You had to press seven for this.
Actually, yeah, I didn't even know we were in that for a while.
Letters of the.
Many more seconds depending on my
Great.
No, that's good.
Not anywhere
They
big,
kind
no.
of passion.
You're-
Everybody
Uh,
has different interests.
no, there's a-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and you know, they
That's
decide
not
that. Voicemail.
Dennis office was good.
We'll have
Learned a
a
lot.
access into
Yeah.
the.
Dennis office, I did,
You
and,
would call.
That's
Right, it's not,
You know,
you just do it by looking
that was
on your
very
phone.
good.
Like, you can go in
That was that
and
one
as
I
soon as
can't
that-
remember.
Well, you next year, right now, order gas ones. They were, all they had to do is figure out what to do. Landscaping, they have no erosion control. Every time it rains.
I went
through-
I've been talking today, I've been digging in.
It's so like.
They re-
Already planning and getting-
Last year was tough.
So who-
They had a drought, they had no water.
This year it's all dry and it's picking up too much fish.
Well, I'm sure we're still enjoying some of the ways
And
that
the
we
salt
are.
really, so it wasn't salt going on.
And some days I wake up and I'm fine.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, we just did the
I,
next gen 911 upgrade in our 2000.
must be, I'm walking
Yeah.
little.
It's a little tiny.
Every once in a while, you
Wow.
Oh my God. Every time
Oh, my.
there.
Yeah, when you had them.
I'm gonna go down there.
That's why I got,
It'd be easier to read this one.
I get them all the time.
What time?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
doing training Wednesday next week, I'll be there Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to, July 10th, I'm going to bring the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, starting with a roll call from my right.
Chester Duraki.
Vaughn Morgan,
Jim Ralston. Chip Hussey.
and we have a quorum, and Paul Sanderson is absent, will not make it tonight. The meeting is being recorded for everybody. So the first order of business is a public hearing to ratify the town meeting results of March 21st.
And this is in order to expedite the town's rate setting, tax rate setting. DRA was not requiring, and the Secretary of State was not requiring towns to ratify the actions of town meetings that were postponed because of the blizzard, unless there was a bond or a contested race and a recall, things like that, they wanted you to ratify. But if you didn't have anything contested or any really close votes, there was no need to ratify. I got a call from DRA 2 weeks ago saying that it's not going to hold up the tax rate if you didn't ratify and you moved, but their direction was to do all those towns last, which in likelihood would hold up our tax rate. We're generally ready for our tax rate right at the very beginning of the process. So the easiest thing to do was to put the ad in the newspaper for the public hearing tonight, just to vote to ratify the actions that were taken at the municipal election that was delayed from March 14th to March 21st.
Okay, good. Does anybody in the audience have any questions on this? First of all, let me open the public hearing. All right, now, does anybody have? No questions? Good. I'm going to quickly close it then. And I'll ask for a motion.
I move that the Board of Selectmen legalize, ratify, and confirm the actions that were taken by the voters of the town of Greenland at the March 21st, 2017 election and town meetings.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, under appointments, first of all, I guess we have some swearing-ins to do. So why don't we
We do.
review that and also some introductions?
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
So I want to introduce both of the new officers for the Police Department. We have our full-time officer that's going to get sworn in tonight, and our part-time officer's already been sworn in, but he is actually working and training tonight with Wayne Bertogli. So John is our full-time officer that we'll be bringing on. He's going to start a week from today, but he's getting sworn in so he can get qualified, so he can, go through all the uniform stuff, learn taser, all that stuff. He comes from Nottingham Police Department, as we had discussed in non-public, and so Mark is going to swear him in this evening. Rich Newman is the part-time officer. He's already been sworn in by Marge. He works full-time at the Rockingham Dispatch, as we had discussed. He's been a police officer from years ago, and then again recently in Northwood. So he's pretty much trained probably better than a lot of us. But he's going to learn the town with Wayne Bertogli and with Jamie Cormier, and then he'll be ready to go.
Excellent.
So I'd like to introduce our board select. Our town administrator is Karen Anderson.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Karen. And one of our board selectmen is Chip Hussey.
Nice to meet you.
This is Jim Ralston.
Ralston.
This is Ron Morgan, the chairman.
Nice to meet you.
And Chester Durant.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Thank you. Yeah.
And Chester
Nice
Durant.
Thank you. I'd just like to tell you guys that I am the liaison for the police department. If Tara gives you a hard time, feel free.
We also turned down his hearing aid, and At least you didn't hire another Wayne.
So without further ado,
Do you have any taking pictures? What do you,
I'll be taking pictures and stuff.
okay, where do you want us to stand?
Anywhere you'd like to.
Well, you can. Yeah, the flag, maybe put the
You do
flag.
flag.
Okay.
We do have flags. We are patriotic.
Yeah, we did, that's what we did.
You also have low ceilings. That's why I keep it.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. There's one over here.
That's been why they were out the other day when I came in.
Switch the flag.
What, switch
Switch
the,
the flag.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you gotta switch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. I'll let you guys do that.
Okay.
I've got mine.
You stand right there and record it.
Tell me when you're ready, Rich.
I am ready.
You ready? Would you kindly raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Jonathan E. Sedina,
Jonathan E. Sardina,
swear that I will faithfully and impartially
swear that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
the entire duties
the entire duties
incumbent on me
incumbent on me
as a full-time police officer,
as a full-time police officer,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution
of the Constitution
and laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Gonna have this young man put his John Hancock on there.
don't put John Hancock, she gets me.
Hey, thank you.
That's all the way to the-
Thank you.
Ready to start writing?
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
congratulations.
you very much.
Hey,
I'll see you Wednesday.
All right, sounds good.
I am.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Rich.
Right here. Look at that. You know what glasses
Okay, under appointments, we have tonight with us the 9/11 Committee to discuss the renaming and renumbering of streets to be in compliance with the E911 safety standards. There have been some issues brought up by the new board members, and they would like some clarification as to why some numbers need to be changed. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Chief Laurent to explain what is proposed and to answer any questions from the board.
Okay, I know that Vaughn has been through this process with me, so if I forget anything, if you could, just give me a hint of what I'm forgetting. The E911 standardization has been going on in the country for a long time. About 5 years ago, maybe 4.5 years ago, they drove around in Greenland and they GPSed everything. GPS location for driveways, houses, roads, how far it is from here to there. They got all that data together and they gave a map or a series of maps to the town. And it said, here are some issues that we see that are not standardized. If you're willing to go forward and make these changes or some of these changes, we'll help you through the process. Some of the standardizations, all the standardizations are supposed to make it so that first responders from town to town, or ideally state to state, can expect the same things as they go into a town. Obviously, there's towns in New Hampshire that are really old that have 2 streets named almost exactly the same, Maple Street, Maple Road. Obviously, that can become confusing. So there's standardizations that are as simple as that, and they go all the way up through, if there's more than 2 houses can be off the driveway. If there's 3 or more, then they would recommend naming that as a road or a street name or a private drive or whatever you would want to do. The idea is for us to be able to get to a location as quickly as possible, and our mutual aid people that we rely on, fire, police, ambulance, from surrounding towns, because it's not always just us going to these locations. So I can know where Vaughn lives, but if Stratham is going to where Vaughn is because I'm helping somebody else, I want them to get there as quickly as I would. So some of the issues in Greenland were severe, and some of them not so much. So there's nothing legally mandating us to make changes. It's not forced on us, it's our choice. And that means that we don't have to make every change that was recommended. If we have a road that is numbered not in 50-foot increments, but the numbers make sense to us and they go in order, we're totally fine with that. So when we started this, and myself and Ralph and Tim Collins, emergency management, and Jim wasn't here at that time, but when we talked about it, we said we only wanted to address things that we think would be an issue for public safety. So the first thing we hit was the more than 2 houses off of a driveway. When I started about 6 months into it, I got a call, and I can't even remember the address, but it was on Dearborn, and it was a domestic violence that was happening, brother on brother fight. A number on Dearborn. I know where Dearborn is, no problem. I go lights and siren. I get to the end of Dearborn. I go lights and siren. I get to the first end. I went back and forth 3 times before I called Wayne Young, who obviously was very, very familiar. And I said, this number is not on this street. Oh yeah, it is. Go down the dirt driveway with all the duplexes off of it. Go to the end where it looks like there's nothing more, and then take a right. And that literally, that's where the house was. It was a bracket house that's down there that's now Rosemary Lane. And so in my head, I was like, wow, I can't believe that it's that big back there. I mean, there must have been 12 or 14 addresses off of that one driveway. It was kind of crazy. So as we went through, those are the things. Do we have an issue here? Falls Way is a good example that I think kind of came up in a recent meeting, because we haven't done that yet, about why we would renumber such a new subdivision. I know that Fallsway started when Bob was here, and then it continued when Myrick was here, and I don't even know if they're finished all the building up there, and now Jim's here. So it's not someone's fault that it got this way, but there is huge discrepancy between, you go by 22, and then you hit up further where you think it'd be bigger, you hit 16 or 15. So the sides don't matter. So the fire department specifically has called us time and time again, oh my gosh, Fallsway, we can never find the right house. Because you go by 22 and you expect it to go up, not down, but on opposite sides. So it's not really that we want a 50-foot increment. It's that this driveway has to be across from a number that's close. You can't, have something so far off and expect us to be able to get there. And then another issue that we had talked about recently is all the bays. And that's been an issue for forever, from long before me. So we have Great Bay Drive, Great Bay Road, Great Bay East, Great Bay West, Bay Ridge, Bay Shore, Bay View, Bayside. So it's not just confusing from people from the outside. I can tell you a story where, unfortunately, there was a medical call. The mom was so upset that no one could really understand what she was saying except for Bay Ridge. I think it was either Bay Ridge or Bay Shore. So the officer went there, and her daughter was trying to commit suicide. So finding that out, the first officer called 2 other officers. Both of those officers went to the wrong shore, either Bay Shore or Bay Ridge, and then turned around and went to the right one. That particular call, I don't think there would have been a difference because she was already dead. However, if 30 seconds made a difference between her life and death, I would have, it's ridiculous over something like that. And so that was somebody that had been there for a long time that was responding. A lot of times dispatch, unfortunately, mixes it up. So they're saying Bay Ridge, but mean Bay Shore, or Great Bay Road and Great Bay Drive, and things like that. So the issues that we want to prevent are safety issues only. I don't want to mess with anybody's numbers or road name just because we don't like it or anything like that. My recommendations and Jeannie's recommendations are based exclusively on safety. So if there's anything that wasn't adopted, I wouldn't personally, we can leave all the numbering as it is and the names as is. But when I can't get there quick enough that something happens, that's where I think everything falls apart. So there's so many standards. Jeannie can answer about all the different standards and why we rename things. Behind Vaughn's house, there's a driveway with 2 duplexes. So there's 4 addresses behind his house I didn't know existed until he and I were talking. And he gets pizza delivered or people trying to deliver things all the time because you don't know what's down there. It's without it being a cross street, it's very, very difficult.
And we actually had an ambulance go up and down twice. It was an out-of-town ambulance looking for that road, that address also. So, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, and I know it's inconvenient for people to change numbers and things like that, but safety trumps inconvenience. I had to do it myself. I had to change the number of my house. But, you know, if somebody's having a heart attack or a stroke, minutes count, minutes, literally.
Seconds.
So that's the difference between life and death or somebody living a life as a vegetable. So to me, you know, this type of thing is necessary. I think it's something that all the towns and cities are trying to do anyway. In fact, I would think that the whole country would be trying to do something like this because it standardizes emergency response, you know, calls. It makes it so that if we get new people coming in the fire department or the police department, then if they're turning down Pine Street and they see number 1 Pine Street, and then the next house is number 15, and let's just say that they're going to 15 Pine Street, well, if it's dark, blizzard night, they go by 1, they're not going to think the next house is 15.
Right.
They're going to think the next house is 3 and so forth and so on. So they're gonna go up and come back again. And that minute, that short period of time can cost somebody's life. So I think this is a very important thing to do.
I know that you know that I agree with you, but the meetings have been very contentious. We did 7 phases, I think. I would not put myself through this if I didn't really believe it will make a difference to somebody. There was an actual case in,
Swansea.
right, was that a fire?
It was, a mother set fire to her home, and they were dispatched to the wrong Maple Street. And a child died, and a neighbor trying to rescue the child died. And although the court did not find them to necessarily have to pay out, they did dismiss a motion that basically, the court said, you know what, you guys knew that this was a problem, and while you may not be liable, there's no tort liability, there's ministerial liability, because you knew it was a problem and you failed to act on it.
Right.
And whether you failed to act, or you changed it and then changed it back, you knew that this was a problem. So I think there was a settlement out of court for that family. But
So I'd say we're about halfway through would be our guess from what we've discussed.
yeah. I would say that the bays and the grapes and the shores, that's one of the most egregious, duplicate, and confusing name situations that I've come across so far. And if you're going to do anything else, please consider changing some of those names, because that is such a potentially dangerous situation. You're relying on not only people calling in emergencies to have the entire street incorrect, when the difference is road versus drive. I mean, it's like playing telephone. Dispatch is playing telephone. It comes from the caller to 911, the local dispatch agencies to the responders. There's a lot of chance for some part of that to be dropped, whether it be the road versus the drive, or the east and the west. So a lot that goes into it. We want to be able to find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody?
Because I'm the devil's advocate here. I was the one that's kind of raised up. To be honest, and I'm only talking about this proposal right here. I don't know what's coming down the pipe.
I don't know what the proposal.
Oh, that's the one with,
Is that fall?
Is that,
oh,
oh, it's the start of the phase?
Yes.
The first.
one of the bays.
Yep, yep.
I went through the numbering and didn't see a problem with it. So that was the only objection I had, because these do get rather ugly sometimes with people. And the road names, totally 100% agree with you. I've lived here all my life,
Yep.
and I've been had to drive these roads for 45 years, and I get screwed up.
Absolutely, especially down there.
Yeah.
Down there, I've sat there and I go, that numbers don't go that high.
Yeah.
But I went through every one of those roads, and I drove it, and it works for me. So I didn't see a problem with the numbering. No, road name definitely needs to be changed.
Sure.
And I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but that's why I had an objection to the numbering, that's
Yep.
all.
Well, the thought behind this was, well, if we're gonna rename it, we might as well do the 50-foot increment address thing. While they're already changing names, they're gonna have to, it's a lot of work either way. But as far as, for example, Great Bay Drive, East and West,
Yeah.
by renaming those, unfortunately, renumbering would have to occur, because you're combining
Yeah.
Yeah,
some of the numbering
as
on
I said,
those.
this was the only one so far
Yeah.
I've seen. I didn't see a numbering problem, because what I do is I take the sheet and I just drove down and says,
Yes.
I didn't have a problem with this, not at all with the numbers. The roads, yeah.
Yeah. Well, on Fairview, for example, there are odd and even numbers on the same side of the road. So that is,
Fairview's 2 lanes though.
it's a hairpin loop
Yeah.
with an
Yeah.
island in the middle.
So there's
So
still a right number.
they're all,
inside.
they're still a right and left-hand side, and as the numbering stands right now, you've got 2, which is an even, and then it goes around that loop, and they're on the same side of the road,
Yeah, they just went on, I think they used a lot of numbers when they numbered the road.
probably.
I think that's what happened, quite frankly, in Falls Way. And did we meet with Myrick or with Jim? Where we said we're really supposed to, they're supposed to use, yeah, it was Myrick.
Mhm.
They're really supposed to use letters when they do sites, so that it doesn't get confused with that's gonna be the address. So I think they started doing that over here in,
Yeah, they
what do
did.
you call your system?
Vision.
Vision, right, in Vision. So that it's not confusing for the people in here that are trying to convert one to the other.
Well, as I said, it's a bone of contention every time we do this. I think it was one of the more pleasant meeting I've ever seen here.
And I think I know which one you're talking about. I saw that on the way in, it was the gentleman with the rude aqua tape.
Yes.
He was excited about that.
But if we can minimize, the contention with people, it might be a bone to throw out to say, well, it's not that bad, we got one house, we got one or two places, we got a number, that's it.
It's really, like she said, if we didn't have to rename it, we wouldn't renumber. But since we're renaming it, we might as well make it standardized. And the idea is that, especially down there, we know there's not gonna be any more building down there. It is what it is. Can I say that in 50 years? No. I don't know if it's gonna be all condos down there. So that's the whole idea of, if we're gonna change it, we might as well change it correctly. But, you know,
So I'm gonna
I would
put
be,
water down there.
listen, I would take a little bit, you know, with global warming. Yeah, we might not have any of those houses. But, so it's not, each time we go through any sort of phase, not only the citizens, but if you disagree with the numbering or with a certain part or with this or with that, that's fine. We just want to present the recommendations to make it standardized for us to get there, and then just answer any questions you have. I mean, that's the way we intend. One of the other biggest things, other than the bays, is Portsmouth Ave. Because Portsmouth Ave 33, Portsmouth Ave in front of the town hall, or Portsmouth Ave by Suds and Soda. So when someone calls in and says that, the police officers, other than really knowing a certain house, if you say like 300, I'm like, okay, well, we were 579, so that's probably the 30, you know, it's, so people coming from other towns, that's so confusing. And especially if you said the intersection of Post Road and Portsmouth Ave, people would be up there by Dunkin' Donuts. And it's so, we went through one portion of that, and there is some historical things to consider. But ultimately, there's gonna have to be a Route 33 that's not Park Greenland Road, Park Portsmouth Ave. Because there's two places in town too where Portsmouth Ave and Greenland Road connect. So it, you know, it just, it's difficult. On the West Coast, like you said, across the country, people are doing it. On the West Coast, or even west of the Mississippi, there's not that much history, so they actually kind of standardized from when they started. You know, no one was over there until the 1900s. So with us, you know, that have all those little tiny back roads that I love, but at the same time, hard to find places.
Where Paul Revere's been all over the state, so.
Okay, so basically, what we usually do, and I'll just reiterate this, is when we hold the public hearing, the Board of Selectmen, what we tell the people when they come in here is that this is not an issue as to whether or not these changes will take place. The board's already made that decision, and we have the right to do that legally under the law. All right, but that they're here to answer any questions that they might have regarding what do I do with my license, my mortgage, my, you know, voter registration, any of that type of thing. Exactly. And so we have the commission here to answer those questions because they have the answers to those questions.
The deed one comes up a lot. You do not have to change your deed. You change it as soon as you're going to either sell it or transfer it for some reason. And so the town hall holds the lot number and all that stuff with both addresses. But that comes up a lot. People are like, am I going to have to hire an attorney?
Do I need an attorney? That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we do send them letters and packets and form letters in advance that they can send to their mortgage company, credit card companies, things like that. We send them a thing with a list for public service and, you know, whoever you have utilities on, so that you know their numbers, you can hold that and call them. We give at least a 90-day notice. A lot of them were, you know, 4, 5, 6 months out.
Yeah,
After
the holidays.
Yeah, people were worried about Christmas and things, and so they have a super lot of notice. Even elderly people, we've said, come in and we'll make these calls with you, or we'll write the letters for you to send them out for you. Because we don't want we want to make this as least intrusive as possible.
Right.
The post office we've worked with, you know, Greenland, obviously, we have our Greenland office, but that's really only for post office boxes. So we work with Portsmouth Post Office, and they've told us when you forward these, so when we know exactly what they're gonna be, she forwards an official list, obviously for 911 to me, I forward that to the post office, and they say, you tell everybody this will forward for a year, but in all actuality, it will forward forever. So it's really not even a set amount of time. Really magazines and stuff like that are what drop off. So we have tried to round every corner and try and make it as good for everybody as possible. But like I said,
And there are a couple of glitches that happen every time, and
Yep.
what I hear is people trying to buy online.
yes,
The new street names
doesn't exist.
don't pop up. So they're trying to have something shipped and it says not a valid address, not a valid address. And I end up telling them, just use the old address for this purchase, they'll catch up.
Well, and that's what it is. It's usually with Google
Usually with Google.
or some of the other online maps where 911 uploads their information to them, but it's up to Google how often they come and get that.
Right,
And then
Amazon,
upload it.
those kind of
Yes,
things.
yes. Those are the things. Google's been very, very fast on a couple of the pages and really
changed.
slow.
When we first started this process, Google was very easy for us to send data to. And then they went to more of a vetted crowdsourcing method of implementing data, which failed. It has failed. Because we were waiting how long?
Oh, one of them was probably 8 months.
8 months for these changes to be implemented on the Google side. But they seem to have gone back a little bit more toward how they previously implemented data. And we do send it quarterly as well, so we're inundating them with our data.
Okay, so I think it's important that we go over what it is that we're going to be sending out to the people. And if anybody has any questions or anything on these changes right now, this is the time to bring them up so that we can iron out the bumps, so to speak.
We do, when they come to the first meeting, we do say, get with your neighbors and whatever name you want, as long as obviously it's not offensive and it's not used elsewhere in town, usually we can use it. So they can pick, you know, Cribbage Way or Road or Burt, you know, whatever. I mean, Rue de Aquitaine, that's a perfect example.
I think we give them how long to
Till the
meet
next
with us
public
again.
hearing.
Next public hearing,
So
and then they
2 weeks after
can
the
bring
meeting.
up whatever name that they would like to do it. And then hopefully we get the people out, everybody on
Right.
one street to kind
Because
of
there's
work
been a
together
few that
on
we've had, like
Right.
4 different
Right.
residents with 4 different names, and we're like,
But they've been very successful that they've narrowed it down themselves.
right, squirrel, chipmunk, and creek, they picked creek.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've got to come up, some of them have actually enjoyed coming up with some of the names so that they're part of the history that they leave behind.
Mhm.
That's always that road.
Yeah.
The town buys the first sign and we color the private roads a different color than the greens, just so that it's obvious if it's a private road and something happens to their sign, then obviously they're responsible for it.
Why does Stratham have different colors than Greenland? What happened there?
Stratham has all blue through the entire town.
Towns are allowed to pick their own colors. So we could have picked red for private or blue, or I think you probably have to pay extra for like purple or something, but,
Melrose is red, I know.
right, but, you know, the red, a lot of people in Maine, they stand for fire roads, so we kind of wanted to stay away from red, but, yeah, you're right. Towns are allowed to even put in, I think it's still legal to do wooden signs, as long as they have some sort of reflective paint or stickers or something on it. So you're right, they're not good from town to town.
Mhm. All right, so does anybody have any questions on what is proposed here?
I have a question.
Yeah.
On this map, we have road number 1 that goes all the way around.
Yep.
Pretty sure that's gonna be the same?
Yes, meaning it will have one name.
Right, well, it has one name in it right now, right, Bay Shore,
Right,
and across the tracks and all the way around.
yes.
So, I've had a commercial license since I was 17, but delivered everything but the baby. So what I see with the problem here is, I'm coming down Bay Shore, and especially if it's an emergency, do I take a left or do I take a right? Do the numbers go up or the numbers go down?
Right, and that's standardized as well.
Yes.
It is, so if this is standardized, how am I gonna know if I take a left or a right? Because it's not a one-way, you know what I
Always
mean?
starts lowest to the right.
Right,
Okay,
so it's, you're always gonna go
and that's
in a
standardized?
circle, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Good
it.
question. Any other?
There's a million standardizations, so just, I only named like 3 or 4, but Jeannie knows a bunch of them. So it is amazing what they've standardized. It doesn't mean that we're applying all of them, but, you know, I mean, 50-foot increments for the addresses is one thing, but they
We've
have a lot of
got it, yeah, we've
specifics.
got it all the way down to unit designation standardization, but it's not suitable everywhere.
Any other questions on Tim?
We recommending that Bayview and Fairview are changed, that they get new names, is that
One of them,
one of them?
right. So one of them,
Who
no.
chooses?
and-
On me.
There's 3 roads that you can change the names on because you got Fairway Drive and Fairview,
Right,
and then you got a Bay Road, but screws everybody up.
right. Well, and this is just one example of a phase. So each time that there's a phase, you'll get a map like this and a list of kind of what the standardization issue is. And I encourage, like Vaughn always did it too, what Chip did is go and drive exactly where and look at, you know, would it be logical for me to get to this? Would I know that Great Bay Road starts here or stops here? You know, a big question we get is you're on Great Bay Road and then suddenly you're on Dearborn Road. Doesn't make a lot of sense that one road turns. If you have stop signs there, it can go whatever, but, you know, so there's a lot of just logic, I think, once you drive it, and that's what I've done a lot of times. Ralph and I actually spent a day driving around for all of the recommendations, and we got way out Post Road, and he goes, I didn't even know that house was here. So remember way down on Creek?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it is kind of eye-opening if you do that.
Okay. Any other questions? So the board is happy with everything that's presented here?
Ecstatic.
Is it only going to be one name changed from Fairview or Bayview? Or are you going to change both of those?
Fairview and Bayview. Bayview has to change because it's got the bay in it.
Yeah.
But Fairview, there's another.
There's
That's
a
Fairway
fair
Drive,
way
yeah.
and a fair view.
And that does confuse people.
Right, so
Yeah.
one of those fairs has to change.
That's the
And then Bay
newest
doesn't
one is
have to.
Fairview, so they unfortunately get elected.
Yeah, I think they've got less addresses affected on
They do.
Fairview.
Fairway. Yeah, Fairway has a few more, and it's like the Portsmouth Country Club. It's
Right.
like Fairway, the golf club, it just,
Right.
it makes a lot of sense.
So we do try, when we recommend, we do try and go with the lowest number of addresses affected. That doesn't mean that you guys have to make that choice, but that's where we get our recommendations.
Yeah, put the numbers on.
So all 3 of those.
That causes hate to just,
Is
There
it
are
right
only
at
2.
both?
yeah,
Yeah.
changing the numbers, it's only 2 in that whole in that area, so.
They have granite.
They have granted. If I was the
Well,
first time I
Ralph's
checked-
idea was always dig it up and wash it and turn it upside down and get new members on the other side. I thought it was pretty innovative.
Except for they spell the name, they spell the road name out on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right, and I'll entertain a motion to send out the notices.
I move to send a legal notice and residence letter out in conjunction with the E911 compliance for Bay Shore Drive, Fairview Drive, and Bayview Drive.
Do I have a second?
Keep them in suspense, Jim. I love it. I'll second it.
There you go.
Great, Chip.
Thank you, sir.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
Charlotte will let you know what the dates can be
Yeah.
when she looks at mailing dates and
Yeah.
notice hearings.
I will say Greenland has set the standard for address conversion.
Really?
And we referenced the process, especially the information packet that you came up with when talking to other towns. So congratulations on doing a great job. I know it's not easy.
No, and
No,
Charlotte carries the bulk of
Boy,
it.
the first two were like,
Oh,
God, I wanted to come over and borrow a flak jacket.
right? It was the first time I've been told I'm ruining somebody's life.
Tears have been shed.
Yes, yeah,
All right, well, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a good night, guys.
And Ralph, we're going to postpone the discussion on the, where am I here?
We're gonna postpone
That
that.
discussion, yes.
Yeah, in other words, we're going to
With
postpone
Alan,
that.
Booth?
Yeah, until the next meeting, because I want all the selectmen here for that.
Yep.
That's an important one.
Okay, can we do one discussion while the chief is here? And that's what I passed out earlier today. You may not even be aware of it yet. Townsend came to install the air conditioned cassettes today. And it can't be done. Because the trusses in the attic are engineered trusses 24 inches apart, and they needed 26 inches for the cassette size. And because they're engineered trusses, the building inspector appropriately so said you can't cut them. So, and they couldn't see that at the time because we have all that sprayed in foam.
Yeah.
We have a lot sprayed in foam.
We have a lot of sprayed in foam. So what they were able to do is, for the same amount, 12.9, do a whole new proposal for us, which would be a ductless heat pump. And it would be placed outdoors on legs, similar to what the condenser thing was going to be. But then there would be an air handler in the attic space.
Attic space over here or attic space over there?
Yours.
Okay.
Adjacent to your current air handler. And then that would be left in place but just disconnected, so the new one would go into the existing ductwork.
I don't know that, unless you see something, Jim.
Right, I just wanted, because this all happened today.
You know what?
It's hot up there.
Yeah.
It's third eye. But, yeah, the equipment just wouldn't fit, they didn't spot, the estimator didn't spot, the trusses, I don't think he went upstairs and even looked to see how, with a nail.
Well, he didn't, I'm sure he didn't open it up either.
No, so we got kind of burnt, we missed it by 2 inches. That actually, in my opinion, would the original estimate would have been the best.
So that, the new proposal, is that the heat pump, is that heat and AC?
Mhm.
Yeah, I will do heat in. This equipment won't go down as far as your mini splits will. Your mini splits, some will go down as low as 15 degrees below zero. I think this cuts out, the electric cuts in at 15 above.
Okay, so the AC will go down to,
The AC will sink the room down comfortably. You'll keep everybody paying attention to you at a meeting.
so, okay.
But the heat wise, it's going to provide you heat also. The biggest problem with these is the air doesn't move. They're radiant.
So we'll be able to take electric heat out?
I wouldn't recommend it.
I mean, we don't have
You don't have
to,
to
we don't
use
have to replace the ones we already took out.
No,
No.
no.
But
What you
heat
want to do is
pumps
keep these as a backup. And the only reason I say that is heat pumps, nobody carries parts. It all comes generally from central supply house. So you're talking a day or
The
two.
reason we're not doing it in both halves?
Reason we're not doing what?
We're not doing it in both halves
Because
and,
we don't have enough money.
okay.
Usually it's a money issue.
It is the money issue.
Everything's a money issue.
Just a little concerned about those heaters. And I've always been concerned about those heaters.
Hopefully next year. We've been trying.
Well, if we have our escape routes all planned out, we're all right.
How long is that, what's the estimate of putting it in, or we gotta reorder and everything else, right?
They probably can get that equipment within 44 hours of them getting the contract. I don't know what the schedule is. I think they're ready.
So you gotta re-vote on this, is that correct?
Is what?
You gotta re-vote on this
Yes.
That's a
proposal?
new contract, so they have to vote on that.
That's why, and it just came in today, so the board hasn't had a lot of time to review it, but when they were here today and couldn't do it, I told them, I said, today is the, we're meeting tonight, otherwise it'll be 2 weeks.
So, was the price any difference at all?
No, exactly the same price, 12,900.
I don't.
Okay. All right, so we do need to revote just because it's different equipment?
It is, because the biggest difference between this is also, and one of the points that we made with the other system was that it was transportable. So
Okay,
that it could easily be, the cassettes taken off the ceiling, the condenser moved to a new building and moved the cassettes.
Can we,
And this,
Can
you
this
can
be
move
moved?
the heat pump can be
Okay.
moved, but the new building would still have to have its own ductwork.
right, which,
I'll be honest with you, from a technical standpoint, I wouldn't recommend it, because you're talking 2, maybe 3 years down the road.
would recommend moving it?
I wouldn't recommend moving it, because the technology's changing so fast. You might get some massive improvements. You may decide to go mini sports in the new building.
But yeah, the main concern I see we have here, if we keep on going like we are, we could
the whole
possibly,
system could go, yeah,
we break the whole system, then we're really in trouble,
okay.
especially this side, because we're trying to take the cold air from here and take it over there.
It's
The
not that much,
barrel.
we're not dealing with that much going that way. It's about 18,000 BTUs.
Okay.
Okay, you want to formulate a motion for us?
Motion to move forward with the Townsend Energy proposal for the ductless heat pump and the ductless heat pump system, because it's just a different type of system, for 12,900.
Okay.
Why does it say?
It is using the original ductwork, which, to be honest with you, is no problem. It's pretty good.
No, that stuff's been all right.
It's been, especially on that side, it decides pretty well. So it's not ductless, no. We can get those to fit. I think they're still bringing in fresh air.
She's saying that the proposal.
Oh, it should say
Oh.
York heat pump instead of Mitsubishi. It should be a York heat pump.
Mine does say York.
Not
Oh,
at the
the
top.
top line.
That's what I was
All
reading
right.
from.
Okay, so just cross that out and make it York, right?
Yep.
Okay. So,
Can I ask you a question first? How much hotter is it gonna make it up in that attic?
Not gonna make it any hotter.
It's not gonna be any hotter.
It's all insulated ductwork. It's all foamed. It's,
But you,
they got a, what's the word I'm looking for? They got a seal that can wrap it. Again, when they take all the.
so it's not gonna change. Okay.
It's gonna be hot up there no matter what you do.
Right, and the heat pump itself is going to be
I
outside.
understand the ones that goes in the window, never mind this stuff.
okay. Any other discussion? All right, we have a formulated motion on the floor.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
For the record, I abstain.
Opposed?
No.
Oh, okay, aye. All right,
What did you say?
he said aye. Passes.
Oh, okay, so
Yes.
3, 4, 1 abstain, okay.
All right, that's
All
good.
set?
One other thing, I did talk to
Yeah,
Ralph, I told Chip, I was gonna tell Chip, but I did talk to you about that sign that's out front. Because we'd like to have it taken in for preservation, because it's the first sign we have.
We can put it back where it was.
Have a couple of them more, I would, be out of the way.
You
And,
gotta get someone to repaint it and get it back in there and, do we have any other signs we wanna put up in the place of it?
you got the one in the front, the
Oh,
bomb
yeah,
shelter.
on the-
You got the bomb shelter.
Yeah, palm shelter we cut in 20 some odd years ago, longer than that, wasn't it? Chris Thompson put that in.
And you're using the satellite dish still for National Fire Academy or not?
We have not used that dish for a while.
Okay, because that's certainly part of the quote for doing a roof, for just have that removed.
This part of the what?
Part of the quote for doing the roof. I just called Paul. Paul asked me about it, and I said, I don't know.
Do we have to, mow the grass up there? You've been up there?
No. It's in pretty tough shape. The roof is coming back.
That's how long that was. Dump did that in 2000 maybe?
Yeah, well, the roof is coming back because he's looking at a different proposal. He's thinking we may want to increase the slope on that because what he's doing is going to create snow buildup. So we may want to increase the slope slightly on that so the snow will run off.
We look at those beams again over there where the water spouts out also.
Well, that's a different one, different contractor on that.
So I understand that because we welded it once already in the last 5 years.
It's better than the Public Works building.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you, Bob.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
All right. Where the hell am I here? Approval of minutes from June 26th. Does anybody have any questions on that? Any amendments they'd like to make?
I have an amendment to make, I think. Second. Last week, Mr. Sanderson responded that last year there were approximately 600 ambulance calls and 400 fire calls. I looked into it, and that needs to be corrected to reflect the actual numbers, which is 407 total calls, 203 medical aid, which is ambulance, and the other 204 for fire. So I'd just like to see that changed.
Okay.
That's grossly over. I mean, it's double and triple.
An error in
what it
calls.
actually
Oh,
is.
there it is, this is for Charlotte, so it's page 6, the last paragraph.
Yes.
Change
Yep.
600 to the ambulance calls 203,
203 and 204. Motor vehicle accident 63. That's all I have.
Okay. So you want to make a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
No, asking him to do it.
Oh, yes, I move to approve the minutes of Monday, June 26, 2017, as written and amended.
Okay.
Second.
Second,
As
okay. Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, old business, Coakley update.
There hasn't been a lot of work going on for Coakley. Right now, we're waiting for the official word from Senator Morse. In the meantime, what I've started to do is put together a database with all of the property owners and the addresses for the entire Breakfast Hill area. And we'll be sending out a letter asking them for their email address so we can set that up as an email blast for notification as the whole project goes forward. We did it when we did the Dearborn Road Caswell project and it worked so well.
Okay,
So while we're in this like holding pattern, I'm just trying to
good
gather
chance
some
to
of
organize it.
yeah, get
I
this
agree.
data put together. It'll encourage the residents that we are still doing something.
Yep, good, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're working on the camera situation.
The camera situation, I've done a draft for a policy for it. I've sent it over to Chief Laurent for her review. She sent it back with a couple of changes that she's looking into. I've solicited other policies from towns. I haven't found anybody that actually has a full policy. Most of them only have signage that's outside and then inside. Be aware there is surveillance in place.
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay,
But most of the offices were all saying that they have it in employee areas, and so the employees just got some brief training that you have to be aware that, there's, but we're not even gonna have it in employee areas.
Right, right. I think Jim brought up a good point at the last meeting too, just saying that when we do put these things in, there should be something in the personnel policy that states that that the cameras are used strictly for safety.
And that was one of the questions that Chief Laurent had in the policy. She doesn't, because she has it there, and she assumed that automatically if it's a policy in the personnel policy, it will apply to her employees as well. They already have surveillance in their parking lot and within all of the offices and throughout the police building.
Yeah.
She said she will occasionally, and they know, that she will occasionally use it to monitor if an officer is inside the station too long, arrival times, departure times. And they're aware of it.
Okay. I think as long as it's made clear to the employees that, I don't see a problem with that, but I think the employees, they need to know what it's being used for,
Right. Because Tara had said if you want to say for safety only, it has to say exempt from the police department, because she said, we use it. She said, I use it.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, there'll be more discussion on that when
Okay.
the issue comes up. So. All right, and I want to wait for Paul's return so we have a full board to discuss the fire station response review. Does anybody else have any other old business they'd like to discuss?
Well, I had a question on, the last meeting, we talked on the new business about some issues with the maintenance building, people working on private equipment. What's been done on that? Anything?
Sure.
Well, I've discussed that with Paul, and probably we should wait for a full board, but we got to decide what the policy is going to be. His personal tool bucket, tool chest is down there. I am a firm believer that the town of Greenland nor any other employee should supply hand tools to an employee to work because they'll just walk off. So it's a catch-22. We got to look at that. It's probably going to hurt to check with other towns too, because there are mechanics that bring their tools in and tighten up nuts and bolts on the trucks. They may not get into tearing down engines, but they do the small stuff that they can do. Especially as the equipment gets older and mowing lawns, it does rattle, shake, and roll. So, but we should have a policy anyway that what's going on there.
Well, couldn't we have a walkable cabinet?
Well, the problem is his toolbox is there, and he's bringing his stuff down and work on it.
Right, but if we were to purchase tools,
Who's going to monitor them? I mean,
What's the difference then with all the weed whackers and the tools and equipment we already have? Chainsaws can walk off just as easy as a pair of channel locks.
not usually.
Well, yeah, they can. I mean,
Well, that's just my personal opinion. We can kick this
I agree with
around.
that, yeah. What we can do is, why don't we put this on the agenda so we can discuss a policy? I think you're right, so we should have a policy in place. So we'll put that on the agenda, the next agenda. Think about it, everybody think about it. Come up
Well,
with
isn't there an
some
ethics
idea.
policy that says strictly, already says you can't use town buildings for personal use?
Well, I think if he's using his own tools down there,
And bringing in his own equipment.
yeah, but if he's.
What's about liability? I mean, it's,
We've never had a
where does it
problem
end?
with that.
Where does it end? Can I bring my stuff over there?
No, you can't, but he's.
I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult.
No, I understand, but we've never had a problem with it before. I mean, it's not, it has
Somebody
never
sent me
been
a
a
photo
problem.
of it, so
Just
somebody
what?
has a problem with it. The town people have a problem with it.
Who has a problem with
The
it?
people that sent me the picture, the guy
Who
working on it.
sends you a picture? Have them come up before us.
Okay.
All right.
I can do that.
That's fine.
That's fine.
But I mean, you know, so, but we have never had a problem with that as long as he's been with us. So I just, to me, it's kind of nitpicking, saying he's got his tools down there. It makes sense to me that he is the maintenance supervisor, and he wants to bring his lawnmower down there to have it fixed. I don't have a problem with it. Now, I know you
I
do.
think you should.
Well, I don't.
think you should.
Well, I don't. But it's something we can discuss at the next board and, you know, come up with something, all right?
Because it's going to have to happen with the fire department too, because the guys work on their vehicles inside the fire station.
All right, then we'll do a policy.
We have to do it all the way around, just so people know. As I said, you bring your own tools, they don't have their own tools, that's town tools in that junk, but that's my personal opinion.
Okay,
We'll think about it.
all right. So we'll put it on the agenda for next meeting. All right, any other old business anybody would like to bring up?
Actually, I got quite a bit.
You got what?
Quite a bit of cleanup. We did a review of the welfare policy and some minor changes were made, but I don't remember it ever coming back to be just approved. And I didn't see in the minutes what.
I thought the motion was it's approved, subject to making those changes.
I'd have to double check.
Okay,
But that's, I just sat there, and said, I don't remember that coming back ever.
right, yeah, because I just made the changes and put it in the folder, because I think it was approved, subject to making those changes.
Okay, the other thing is, the employee IDs, I had a couple actually good suggestions. I had a couple 15 people, adults, but they acted like 15-year-olds too, but that's beside the point. We need to do a policy in the employee book for displaying badges at all times when they're employed,
Yeah,
working
and,
here.
yeah, and Chief Laurent has done the template for our badges and has taken some of the pictures are already over there.
One of the things, I don't know what the template is, but one of the suggestions was, we don't need to have date of birth, hair color,
Yeah. And that was the first template, was to have all of us fill out age, date of birth, color, hair, height, weight, and we're like,
especially
and
if.
so some people
especially-
went like,
yeah.
time out.
Your job is inside this office.
Your name, position.
And, for example, the office, the transfer station, the town administrator, the facilities maintenance, don't need all that crap. They're not going to people's houses. The people do have
Okay, which
it.
ones, so, wait a minute, I wasn't
Oh,
listening.
that's all right, I was fast too. The office personnel,
Okay,
the transfer station attendants,
yeah,
the town administrator, whoever she is, the facility maintenance and this helper, and it's basically, it would be the name, department, expiration date, and the picture. They keep it simple. The thing you've gotta have, all of that crap that the police have, is the guys going in private property. Your town assessor, your building inspector, the police already have it, and the fire department.
okay, so name and position for those people.
Yeah.
And then the others.
There's a full ID.
Full ID, okay.
And I just want to clarify, Paul had mentioned lanyards, that was just a way to put them around your neck, but they do also have flips. The motion was, I'm personally, they can wear whatever they want. If they like lanyards, wear lanyards, I hate them. I personally like the clips. Alright, that's pretty much all on that one. But I think that we'll need a policy to come up. I'd like to get things squared away before we get into the budget season. So we're talking the first meeting in August, I'd like to see it all set up and ready to rock and roll. I did go back and review the warrant for the fire department as far as who's supposed to hire. There's no mention of it, so it follows statute. That means we hire. So we need to notify Ralph that he makes the recommendation, does all the work, and we take all the credit by hiring.
Okay.
The building repairs already went over. The other thing that I'd like to get squared away before we get in the budget is the computer security and needs. He was supposed to meet with us, and he hasn't, and I don't know if that's just his schedule. And the last thing for next meeting is we need to nail Paul down. We were supposed to look at transfer station rates, and I forgot to tell him that today. And that's it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay. New business.
I'll text him tomorrow, but I got.
We have the town administrator's report. Does anybody have any questions regarding the report? Everybody understands everything that's going on here? Okay. Let's move on to the PA 28 inventory report.
This is a request from DRA that you need to tell them every year whether you're going to use the form that year or not use the form. Historically, Greenland has done it every 5 years because the data is useful to us, but it's not useful every single year because it doesn't change enough. This is the inventory forms that just recently have been done, which is like name, address, who lives in the house, do you have a dog, is your house in current use, things like that. We're still in the process now of putting all that data that came in into a usable form again. I do use it to sort all residents by age, so we know who is eligible or may be eligible for elderly exemptions that aren't aware of it. The data is transmitted over to the school as far as school-age children. And we find a lot of work that's been done without building permits that people may not have known, because, they ask any improvements and they'll write finished basement. And then there was no building permit for a finished basement, and we go out there and do an after the fact. But I don't recommend that we do it every year. The data is not worth the amount of time and effort. We're still finishing the process right now. And it was a very good process this year. We've got 94.5% return rate. And so there was like 325 left out of almost 2,000.
Right.
So,
just so everybody understands why we recommend that the board not do the inventory this year for the PA-28, just so you understand that, right?
yeah, it's not worth the work
Right.
every year.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I move to not utilize the PA-28 inventory of taxable property in 2018.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, civil forfeiture.
Civil forfeiture is the annual, you didn't register your dog list, and the selectmen have until today to authorize the police department to issue civil forfeitures for the dogs that are not registered. We received this on Thursday or Friday from the town clerk, and they go through lots of effort to try and contact every owner. They call them, they email them, they mail them. And so this is the Time's Up list.
Yeah.
So what actually happens?
The list goes over to the police department,
Arrest the dog?
no, but they go over, they have the civil forfeiture list, they go over and they tell them, get into the town clerk and register your dog, or we're gonna be coming by with a warrant, and the fees are just gonna keep going up and up. And they usually do it right away. Some of them, I'll be honest, some of these have been on the list every year and they still don't do it.
Do we get the money from them?
No, they just, yeah.
We don't get the money from them?
No, there's some that we just can never reach, the police can't reach, yeah.
What's the dog license cost?
What?
What's the cost of the dog license?
It all depends, male, female, registered, spayed, unspayed, but I think the lowest is $4.50 and the highest is $6.50 until it gets $6.50 until you're
I have a
late.
dog, I should know that. Yeah, so.
I got a cat in the teeth of the dog.
So the board just has to officially accept the list of unlicensed dogs and authorize the issuance of the civil forfeiture dog warrant.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept the list of unlicensed dogs from the town clerk and to authorize the issuance of the civil forfeiture dog warrant.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
We give you a horse and a gun, you want to help them arrest them?
You don't want me to do with all these dogs?
Okay, any other business anybody like to bring up?
Nope. Not me.
Okay, let's do the accounts payable. Manifest.
I move we approve the attached manifest of unpaid bill of detail as of July 13th, 2017, in the amount of $3,182.90. This is for the police special revenue fund.
This is outfitting the new cruiser.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Before I do this, and I have a question on the school, they just got $1 million, but why every month are they getting those small amounts? This doesn't make sense to me.
Because they get, overall, they get like 9 million.
Well, I know they do.
And so it is spread out in periodic.
That's just the way, they do it, you know, I saw
Right.
it's $200-something, I thought something.
But I mean-
220,000.
And it's nice of them, because they could ask for it all, if they wanted to, couldn't they?
Right, so they try to, they have to pay attention to FDIC and how much they have insured in their bank accounts. So they make sure that they only request what they need.
All right, I just saw that, I don't understand why they need it all at once.
What?
Okay, let's see. I move that we hereby approve the attached payroll number 14, paid date July 13, 2017, period, June 26, 2017, through and including July 9, 2017. The amount of excluding payroll liabilities, $50,149.20.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
General fund accounts payable, I move we hereby approve the attached manifest of unpaid bills detail as of July 13, 2017, in the amount of $370,707.80.
Noting that, let's see, Green School.
220,000.
I always like to,
Is it?
no, there it is. Noting that 235,000 goes to the Green School.
Second,
Okay,
just keep things moving.
I like it. Have a motion, I have a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, anything else to come before this honorable court?
I have a question, because I almost saw Tina move in. What happened with we move forward the recommended checking account changes she came forward with?
The security system is in place,
Okay.
but we have not implemented the scanning of the checks, anything.
Is there any reason why not?
I don't believe so. I think there was a little bit of pushback on time for sending reports and things, but it hasn't happened yet.
I
We
like it.
we do now have view access to our Provident accounts. So if someone wants to check to see if a check is deposited or cleared, we can go in and look.
Because I'd like to start moving to the 21st century here, and I think we ought to be doing that by the end of the month.
Just ask me to see me, so I will talk to her about it.
Is that gonna create more hours for her?
That should be less.
Right, because if there's no cash in the deposit, she can just scan it and she's done.
Do we have any days when there's no cash? I don't recall any.
But there's just scanning in it, if they don't get a chance to go to the bank, it's already there. We do it at work now. And then we'll make a deposit every 2 days instead of every day. Especially when 90% of the business is checks.
I kind of stay out of that because it is the treasurer's purview and I don't generate any
Right,
income.
that's right, I stay out of it too, right?
Right.
But I elected officials, so.
Yeah.
We can't really.
We are meeting all the law, the deposits are made timely.
I would like an explanation why it hasn't been done. How's that sound?
Okay.
I can't stand it when we're in the 21st century, people don't want to move in that direction. Especially, work is a 4-letter word, and don't forget it.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Oh. Need an air-conditioned seat, never mind an air-conditioned room.
You what?
Need an air-conditioned seat.
I'll bring these into your office, Kevin.
Okay, thank you.